Feeling a little stiff when you get out of bed in the morning. Maybe your knees ache more than they used to. Or that persistent tiredness just won't shake. Perhaps you've noticed your memory isn't quite as sharp. Or your digestion feels a bit sluggish lately. It's easy to just shrug and say, well, that's just part of getting older, isn't it? But what if I told you that much of what we experience as the inevitable slowdown of aging is actually being quietly fueled by something happening inside our bodies? Something we can influence. There's a hidden culprit that often worsens with age, quietly working behind the scenes to make our joints hurt, our energy flag, and even impact our cognitive health. It's called inflammation. Not the kind you see when you stub your toe and it swells up, but chronic, low-grade inflammation that lingers. And the secret: a surprising number of things we eat every single day are feeding this fire, making those aches and pains, that fatigue, and other age-related issues much worse than they need to be. It's not always the obvious culprits. In this video, we're going to look at 6 common foods that might be quietly causing inflammation in your body, especially after 60, and what you can do about it. Stick with me until the very end, because I'll share something that might truly surprise you about how much control you have over how you feel. So, let's dive into the first food category that often sneaks into our diets and contributes to that hidden inflammation. It's something many of us grew up with. Something we might reach for when we're thirsty or looking for a quick pick-me-up. But it's actually a major source of inflammatory trouble as we get older. I'm talking about sugary drinks, things like soda, fruit juices, even the ones marketed as healthy, sweet teas, and sports drinks. You might think, oh, I don't drink that much soda. But even moderate amounts, or reaching for juice instead of soda, can be problematic. The main issue here is the sheer amount of added sugar, often in the form of high fructose corn syrup. When you consume these sugary beverages, especially quickly, your body gets a massive influx of sugar all at once. This causes a rapid spike in your blood sugar levels. To deal with this, your body has to release a surge of insulin. Over time, these constant spikes and surges can lead to insulin resistance, which is a state where your cells become less responsive to insulin. This resistance is a known driver of chronic inflammation. Beyond the blood sugar roller coaster, the excessive sugar itself can have direct inflammatory effects. Research suggests that a high intake of added sugars can increase the production of inflammatory messengers, chemicals in your body that signal inflammation. Think of it like constantly sending out little inflammatory alerts throughout your system. This is particularly taxing as we age, because our bodies often become less efficient at processing sugar, and inflammation tends to be higher to begin with. That extra inflammatory burden from sugary drinks can contribute to the joint pain we talked about, make fatigue worse, and even impact things like gut health, which is closely linked to inflammation. Plus, these drinks are often empty calories. They provide a lot of sugar and energy, but none of the beneficial nutrients, fiber, or antioxidants that could actually help fight inflammation. Let's think about a practical example. Instead of having a glass of orange juice with breakfast every morning, even 100% juice can be very high in natural sugars without the fiber of the whole fruit. Consider having a small orange or some berries. Instead of reaching for a soda in the afternoon slump, try sparkling water with a squeeze of lemon or lime, or just plain water. If you like sweet tea, try brewing unsweetened tea and adding a tiny amount of honey or a natural sweetener like stevia, or even slices of fruit for flavor, gradually reducing the sweetness over time. Making this switch isn't just about cutting calories. It's about reducing a significant inflammatory trigger. It might feel like a small change, but consistently avoiding these concentrated sources of sugar can make a real difference in dampening that internal inflammatory fire. Now, closely related to sugary drinks but found in many solid foods, the second major inflammatory food group to be mindful of after 60 is added sugars in general, especially in processed foods, baked goods, and sweets. This goes beyond just the drinks. Think about the sugar hidden in breakfast cereals, yogurt, sauces, salad dressings, packaged snacks, cookies, cakes, pastries, and candy. Just like with sugary drinks, consuming too much added sugar from these sources leads to those blood sugar spikes and subsequent insulin responses that promote inflammation. But there's more to it. Excess sugar intake can also contribute to weight gain, particularly around the middle. which is known as visceral fat. This type of fat isn't just storage. It's metabolically active and releases its own inflammatory chemicals. So, eating too many sugary treats can create a double whammy: direct inflammation from the sugar and inflammation from the fat. Accumulation it can encourage. For older adults, managing blood sugar is particularly important because the risk of conditions like type 2 diabetes increases with age. And diabetes is fundamentally an inflammatory state. Even if you don't have diabetes, consistently high sugar intake puts a strain on your system. That chronic low-grade inflammation fueled by sugar can affect your joints, making arthritis symptoms worse. It can contribute to that feeling of brain fog or difficulty concentrating, as inflammation can impact brain health. It can also mess with your energy levels, causing those afternoon crashes that make you reach for more sugar. Creating a vicious cycle. Breaking the habit of relying on sugary snacks or adding sugar to everything takes awareness. Start by reading food labels. You'll be surprised how much sugar is in things you wouldn't expect. Look for ingredients like sucrose, glucose, fructose, maltose, corn syrup, dextrose, and anything ending in ose, instead of reaching for a cookie or a piece of cake when you want something sweet. Try having a piece of fruit. Berries, apples, and bananas offer natural sweetness along with fiber and antioxidants that reduce inflammation. If you bake, try using less sugar than the recipe calls for, or experiment with natural sweeteners in moderation. For snacks, opt for nuts, seeds, or plain yogurt with a few berries instead of sugary granola bars or pastries. It's about retraining your taste buds and finding satisfaction in less sweet, more nutrient-dense options. Cutting back on these added sugars is one of the most powerful steps you can take to turn down that inflammatory heat inside your body and feel better overall. Moving on from the sweet side of things, let's talk about another food group that's a staple in many diets but can be a significant driver of inflammation as we age: processed meats. We're talking about things like sausages, bacon, hot dogs, deli meats, jerky, and many prepackaged meat products. While a perfectly cooked steak might be okay in moderation, the way these processed meats are made often involves smoking, curing, salting, or adding preservatives. It's the additives and the processing itself that seem to contribute to the inflammatory response in the body. One of the main culprits in processed meats is often saturated fat. And while the role of saturated fat in inflammation is complex and debated, high intake from sources like processed meats is frequently linked to increased markers of inflammation. More significantly, though, are compounds like advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, which are formed during high-temperature cooking like frying bacon or grilling sausages, and also present in processed meats. When AGEs accumulate in your body, they can trigger an inflammatory response. Also, the nitrates and nitrites often used as preservatives in processed meats can be converted into compounds that are also linked to inflammation and other health issues. For folks over 60, this chronic exposure to inflammatory compounds from processed meats can exacerbate conditions like arthritis, contribute to cardiovascular problems. Inflammation plays a big role in heart disease, and potentially impact gut health, which, as we discussed, is tied into systemic inflammation. Think about the typical breakfast of bacon and sausages, or a daily sandwich piled high with deli meat for lunch. While these are comforting and convenient foods, making them a regular part of your diet means you're consistently exposing your body to these inflammatory agents. So, what are the alternatives? It doesn't mean you can never have bacon again, but making it an occasional treat rather than a daily habit is key. For breakfast, consider opting for eggs with vegetables, or perhaps some smoked salmon for sandwiches. Try using leftover roasted chicken or turkey breast, or make a tuna or egg salad. Lentils or beans can also make a great base for vegetarian sandwiches or salads. If you enjoy sausages, look for varieties with minimal processing and fewer additives. Or try plant-based alternatives, though check their ingredient list too. Focus on lean, unprocessed proteins like fish, especially fatty fish like salmon, which are anti-inflammatory, poultry, beans, and lentils. Reducing your intake of processed meats is a practical step that removes a clear inflammatory burden from your system, potentially leading to less joint pain and better overall vitality. Now, let's turn our attention to another common culprit that's often lurking in packaged goods and used in cooking: refined carbohydrates. We're talking about things made from highly processed grains, where the bran and germ have been removed, leaving mostly the starchy endosperm. This includes white bread, white pasta, white rice, though less processed than bread, pasta, crackers, many breakfast cereals, pastries, and baked goods made with white flour, just like with sugar. The problem here is how quickly these refined carbs are broken down by your body. They cause a rapid spike in blood sugar levels. Similar to sugary drinks and sweets, this prompts that insulin response, and, over time, can contribute to insulin resistance and chronic inflammation. Unlike whole grains, which contain fiber, vitamins, and minerals that can actually help regulate blood sugar and reduce inflammation. Refined grains are largely stripped of these beneficial components. They provide quick energy but lack the nutritional complexity that supports a healthy, inflammatory response. The inflammatory effect of refined carbohydrates can show up in various ways as we get older. It can contribute to fatigue and energy crashes throughout the day. It can worsen symptoms for those with inflammatory bowel conditions. And that constant metabolic stress from blood sugar spikes isn't good for overall cellular health, including the cells in your joints and brain. Think about your typical day. Is your toast in the morning white bread? Is your lunch sandwich on white bread? Is your dinner pasta made with white flour? These are all opportunities to make a simple switch. Swapping white bread for whole wheat or a seeded variety is a great start. Choose brown rice instead of white rice. Opt for whole wheat pasta. Look for crackers made with whole grains and seeds. When buying cereals, check the ingredient list to ensure a whole grain is the first ingredient. It's not about eliminating all carbs, but about choosing carbohydrates that come with their fiber and nutrients intact. This fiber helps slow down sugar absorption, prevents drastic blood sugar spikes, and feeds beneficial gut bacteria, which, as we know, is crucial for managing inflammation. Making a conscious effort to switch from refined grains to whole grains is a cornerstone of an anti-inflammatory diet and can significantly impact how you feel day to day, potentially reducing stiffness and boosting your energy levels. It's a powerful dietary upgrade that pays dividends as you age. Moving right along. Let's tackle a particularly pervasive category that's hard to avoid if you eat out or consume a lot of packaged foods, fried foods. Think about French fries, fried chicken, donuts, onion rings, anything that's typically deep fried. There are several reasons why fried foods are inflammatory landmines, especially for older adults. First, they are often cooked in industrial seed oils, which we'll talk more about shortly. And these oils can become unstable and even more inflammatory when heated to high temperatures. Second, the process of frying itself, especially deep frying, creates harmful compounds, including more of those advanced glycation end products, AGEs, and other inflammatory substances. When you eat fried food, you're not just getting calories, you're ingesting these inflammatory compounds directly. Your body has to work to process them. And this can trigger an inflammatory response for someone over 60 whose body might already be dealing with age-related inflammation. Adding the burden of fried foods regularly is like pouring gasoline on a smoldering fire. This can manifest as increased joint pain, digestive upset, and generally feeling unwell or sluggish after eating. It's also strongly linked to cardiovascular issues because the inflammation and damaged fats can impact blood vessels. Think about how often you might grab fried food out of convenience or comfort. A quick stop for fried chicken, grabbing donuts for breakfast, or ordering fries as a side. These occasions add up. It's not realistic for most people to eliminate fried food entirely, but significantly reducing its frequency can have a profound impact. Instead of frying chicken, try baking or grilling it. Sweet potatoes can be baked into fries instead of deep fried. Look for alternatives when eating out, choosing grilled, baked, or steamed options. If you cook at home, minimize frying and opt for healthier cooking methods like baking, roasting, stir-frying with healthy oils, or steaming. Another major issue with fried foods is that they often contain trans fats, or partially hydrogenated oils. While the use of artificial trans fats has been reduced in many places, they can still be found in some packaged goods. Fried foods, and certain margarines or shortenings. Trans fats are notoriously bad for inflammation and cardiovascular health. They are artificial fats created by adding hydrogen to liquid vegetable oils, making them more solid and stable. This process also makes them highly inflammatory. Your body doesn't know what to do with these fats, and they can interfere with normal cellular function and contribute to inflammation, particularly impacting blood vessels and heart health. Even small amounts of trans fats are problematic, and their inflammatory effects can contribute to joint pain, increase the risk of heart disease and stroke, major concerns as we age, and generally contribute to that underlying inflammatory state that makes us feel older than we are. Look at the ingredient list on packaged foods, baked goods, and margarines. If you see partially hydrogenated oil, put it back. Many restaurants have also moved away from using oils with trans fats. But it's always a good idea to ask. Choosing whole, unprocessed foods and minimizing packaged goods is one of the best ways to avoid these harmful fats. Opting for real butter in moderation if dairy works for you, or healthy oils like olive oil for cooking, is a much better choice than using margarines containing trans fats. Avoiding fried foods and checking labels for trans fats is a vital step in reducing inflammatory triggers in your diet. Finally, let's look at the sixth food group, which often goes hand in hand with fried foods and processed snacks, certain industrial seed and vegetable oils. We're talking primarily about oils like corn oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, and cottonseed oil. These oils are very high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6 fats are essential for our health. We need them. The problem isn't omega-6 itself, but the balance between omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids in our modern diet. Historically, humans consumed roughly equal amounts of omega-6 and omega-3 fats. Today, the ratio is heavily skewed, with most people consuming far too many omega-6s relative to omega-3s. This imbalance promotes inflammation. Omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish like salmon, flax seeds, chia seeds. Walnuts are anti-inflammatory. They help produce compounds that reduce inflammation. Omega-6 fatty acids, on the other hand, are used by the body to produce compounds that promote inflammation. A proper balance is needed for a healthy immune response. You need inflammation to fight off infections and heal injuries, but you also need to be able to turn it off. When you have a massive excess of omega-6s from these vegetable oils, your body is constantly primed towards producing inflammatory signals, and you lack the omega-3s needed to balance that out and turn down the inflammation. These high omega-6 oils are ubiquitous in processed foods, salad dressings, margarines, and are often used for frying in restaurants. They are cheap to produce, which is why they are so widely used. Consuming a diet high in these oils contributes significantly to chronic low-grade inflammation, impacting everything from joint health and pain levels to cardiovascular health and brain function. For older adults, who may already have a higher baseline of inflammation, reducing the intake of these oils is crucial. So, how do you do it? It's challenging because they are hidden in so many products. Reading labels is key. Look for soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, etc. When cooking at home, swap these oils for healthier alternatives like extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, or coconut oil in moderation. These oils have different fatty acid profiles and are generally more stable and less inflammatory. When eating out, be mindful that restaurants commonly use these cheaper oils for cooking and frying, choosing options that are grilled. Baked or steamed can help. Making your own salad dressings with olive oil and vinegar is another easy way to avoid the hidden inflammatory oils in store-bought versions. By consciously reducing your intake of these imbalanced seed oils and increasing your intake of anti-inflammatory omega-3s, eating fatty fish a couple of times a week, adding flax or chia seeds to your diet, you can significantly shift your body's inflammatory balance in a positive direction. So, we've talked about sugary drinks, added sugars in food, processed meats, refined carbohydrates, fried foods, and certain industrial seed oils. 6 categories that are surprisingly common, but can be quietly fueling inflammation in your body after 60. It might feel like a lot to change all at once. But remember, even small, consistent changes can make a significant difference. Think about tackling 1 or 2 areas first. Maybe start by cutting out sugary drinks or making the switch from white bread to whole wheat. Then, perhaps focus on reducing processed meats or avoiding fried foods most of the time. It's not about being perfect. It's about making conscious choices that support your health and well-being as you age. Imagine feeling less stiff, having more energy to do the things you love, thinking more clearly, and simply feeling more comfortable in your own skin. Reducing inflammation through your diet is one of the most powerful ways to unlock that potential. It's about giving your body the building blocks it needs to thrive, rather than constantly challenging it with inflammatory triggers. Your body is incredibly resilient, and it will thank you for making these shifts. We covered how excess sugar from drinks and foods causes blood sugar spikes and promotes inflammation. We discussed how processed meats and fried foods introduce inflammatory compounds and unhealthy fats. We looked at how refined carbs cause rapid sugar surges, and how certain seed oils disrupt the essential omega-6 to omega-3 balance. Understanding why these foods are problematic makes it easier to choose alternatives that nourish your body and help turn down that hidden inflammatory heat. These aren't just dietary rules. They are empowering choices that give you more control over how you feel each day. What are your thoughts on these foods? Are some of them staples in your diet? Are there any that surprise you? I'd love to hear your experiences and ideas in the comments below. Sharing helps us all learn and support each other. And if you found this information helpful, please give the video a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more people who could benefit from these tips. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more practical advice and encouragement on living your best life at every age. Making these changes isn't about restriction. It's about freedom from aches, fatigue, and discomfort. It's about embracing vitality and enjoying every moment. You have the power to feel better, starting right now, one mindful food choice at a time. Live your best life at every age.